Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Look at me. Yeah, right. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Giravadari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Giravadari. Yashodanandana Raja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Raja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Shri Rajakacharya. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pari Rajakacharya Ashtotara Shata Shri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pari Rajakacharya Ashtotara Shata Shri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Srila Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhaktivedanta Thakur Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhuma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Das Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Reem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasani Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopanath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Gangamai Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Anantakoda Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Raghunath Raj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. ISKCON Bhartma Guru Vrinda Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru Shri Guranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Jayava Narottamam Devam Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jayam Hridayat Nasta Preshu Abha Preshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistaki. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, and unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead, whose praise with transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. All right. Okay, so today we're reading Canto 4, Creation of the Fourth Order. And today is Sunday, February 11th, 2024. We're reading chapter 21, instructions by Maharaj Prithu, and we'll be doing verse 31. So, do you have the remote, Ethan? Okay. Yat para seva piruchis tapasvinam Ashesha janma pachitam malam diya Sadyachinojan vahamedhati sati Data parangushta vinikrista sarit Yat para seva viruchis tapasvinam Ashesha janmo pachitam malam diya Sadyashinotyan vahamedhati sati Yata parangushta vinikrista sarit Yat para seva viruchis tapasvinam Ashesha janmo pachitam malam diya Sadyashinotyan vaham edhati sati Yata parangushta vinikrista sarit. Okay, please chant.
Yat para seva viruchis tapasvinam
Yat para seva viruchis tapasvinam
Ashesha janmo pachitam malam diya
Ashesha janmo pachitam malam diya
Sadyachinotya vahamedhati sati
Sadyashinotyan vahamedhati sati
Yata parangushta vinarishta sari
Yata parangushta vinikrista sarit. Anyone else?
Yat para seva viruchis tapasvinam
Yat para seva viruchis tapasvinam
Ashesha janmo pachitam malam diya
Ashesha janmo pachitam malam diya
Satyachirokya anvaham edati sati
Sadyashinotyan vahamedhati sati
Yatha padangushta vinisrita sarit
Yata parangushta vinikrista sarit. Okay, anyone else? All right, let's do word for word. Yat pada,
Yatha
whose lotus feet. Seva, service. Abhiruchi,
aviruchi
inclination. Tapasvinam,
tapasvinam
persons undergoing severe penances. Ashesha, innumerable. Janma, birth. Upachitam, acquire. Malam, dirtiness. Iyaha, mind. Sadhyaha, immediately. Shinoti, destroys. Anvaham, day after day. Edhati, increasing. Sati, being. Yata, as. Para angusta, the toes of his lotus feet. Vinihrista, emanating from. Sarit, water. Okay, translation by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. By the inclination to serve the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, suffering humanity can immediately cleanse the dirt which has accumulated in their minds during innumerable births. Like the Ganges water which emanates from the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord, such a process immediately cleanses the mind, and thus spiritual or Krishna consciousness gradually increases. Please repeat. By the inclination to serve the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, suffering humanity can immediately cleanse the dirt which has accumulated in their minds during innumerable births. Like the Ganges water, which emanates from the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord. Such a process immediately cleanses the mind, and thus spiritual or Krishna consciousness gradually increases. Purport. In India, one can actually see that a person who takes bath in the Ganges water daily is almost free from all kinds of diseases. A very respectable Brahmana in Calcutta never took a doctor's medicine. Even though he sometimes felt sick, he would not accept medicine from the physician, but would simply drink Ganges water, and he was always cured within a very short time. The glories of Ganges water are known to Indians and to ourselves also. The river Ganges flows by Calcutta. Sometimes within the water there are many stools and other dirty things, which are washed away from neighboring mills and factories. But still, thousands of men take baths in the Ganges water, and they are very healthy as well as spiritually inclined. That is the effect of Ganges water. The Ganges is glorified because it emanates from the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord. Similarly, if one takes to the service of the lotus feet of the Lord, or takes to Krishna consciousness, he is immediately cleansed of the many dirty things which have accumulated in his innumerable births. We have seen that in spite of the very black record of their past lives, persons who take to Krishna consciousness become perfectly cleansed of all dirty things and make spiritual progress very swiftly. Therefore, Prithu Maharaj advises that without the benediction of the Supreme Lord, one cannot make advancement, either in so-called morality, economic development, or sense gratification. One should therefore take to the service of the Lord, or Krishna consciousness, and thus very soon become a perfect man, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Sipram bhavati dharmatma savat chantim nigachati. Being a responsible king, Prithu Maharaj recommends that everyone take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus be immediately purified. Lord Sri Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita that simply by surrendering unto him, one is immediately relieved of all sinful reactions. As Krishna takes away all the sinful reactions of a person immediately upon his surrender unto him, similarly, the external manifestation of Krishna, the representative of Krishna, who acts as the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, takes all the resultant actions of the sinful life of the disciple immediately after the disciple's initiation. Thus, if the disciple follows the principles instructed by the spiritual master, he remains purified and not contaminated by the material infection. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore stated that the spiritual master who plays the part of Krishna's representative has to consume all the sinful reactions of his disciple. Sometimes a spiritual master takes the risk of being overwhelmed by the sinful reactions of the disciples and undergoes a sort of tribulation due to their acceptance. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore advised that one not accept many disciples. Om Gyana Timarandasya Gyana Jana Shalakaya Chaksharan Militam Yena Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhastam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadam Tikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakrachatam Sahagana Ratnatam Tam Tam Sajivam Savadetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Tamascha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopeka Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sutite Pranamami Hari Pre Vanchakalpa Turubhascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. All right. So by the inclination to serve the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, suffering humanity can immediately cleanse the dirt which has accumulated in their minds during innumerable births. Like the Ganges water, which emanates from the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord, such a process immediately cleanses the mind, and thus spiritual or Krishna consciousness gradually increases. So it's such a beautiful verse. I didn't have much time to prepare for this class, and so I was debating on whether or not I would give it, but the verse was just so beautiful, I really wanted to. And so we know that the Bhagavad Gita says in 1866, just surrender unto me, and I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Right? Krishna says that. And we also know in 922, Krishna says that those who worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. And so we can see this happening with our own eyes when we see people, come. I've seen so many people that have come to the temple really struggling with all kinds of various sinful things, myself included, and by taking up the process of Krishna consciousness, suddenly they're not doing those things anymore. So it's kind of like we've heard this analogy, like you have a cup of dirty water, right, and you want to clean it. You can pour clean water into that cup, and you keep pouring. Eventually, all that dirty water is going to come out, right? And then there's just going to be clean water in there. So Srila Prabhupada says, let's see. So I found these really nice quotes. So how long? This is from a lecture in 1968 in Montreal. So someone asked Srila Prabhupada, how long did it take for anyone to achieve perfection? How many stages must one go through? Or how many years? How many centuries? Prabhupada said, no, there is no such stereotype rules that you have to do it for so many years, so many. It depends on your personal energy of progress. It is very simple to understand. Suppose a man is diseased. No doctor can guarantee that this will be cured in so many days. You see, it depends on the situation of the patient's condition and accepting the treatment. Similarly, it can be cured in 1 day, or it may not be cured in 1,000 days. That depends on the patient. And then there's a little break in the recording, and it picks up again. Have got instances that one got perfection in Krishna consciousness within a few seconds also. That is also possible. Because it is spiritual, it does not depend on any material rules and regulations. It depends on seriousness. Just like in Bhagavad Gita, you have instructions by Lord Krishna. Sarvadhamma parijajya mamekam sharanam raja ahatvam sarve papebhyo mokshasya masuchaha. My dear Arjuna, you just surrender unto me, and I take charge of you and make you free from all reactions of your past activities. So if we seriously surrender to God or Krishna, then immediately our desire is fulfilled, immediately. But we are not prepared. That is the difficulty. Maya will instruct me. Why shall you surrender? That's it. So it depends on how long it will take to cure this disease. So if you think about that analogy of the cup with the dirty water, I mean, if you just try to clear up the dirty water in that cup by just putting one drop, it's going to take a lot longer, right? But if you just took that clean water and just like dumped it in that dirty water cup, it'd be much faster, right? And so it's you can take up the path of Krishna consciousness in little drips and drabs, and it'll happen slowly, or you can take it up in one big go, and it'll happen faster. But it's different for everybody. As Srila Prabhupada said, it really depends on the situation of the person. But it can happen overnight, just like, in a second. So Srila Prabhupada also said on that, is it possible, so this is another lecture, and a young boy said, is it possible for one to make it in this lifetime? This one, is it possible that one falls down? And Prabhupada says, it is possible in 1 second, provided you're serious. It is not difficult. After many, many births, when one is intelligent, wise, fully grown, wise, he surrenders unto me, Krishna says. So if I'm intelligent, then I will see that if it is the goal of life that after many, many births one has to surrender to Krishna, why not myself surrender immediately? This is intelligence. If this is a fact that one has to come to this point after cultivating knowledge for many, many births, then why not accept it immediately? Why shall I wait for many, many births if this is fact? So that requires a little intelligence. It does not require many, many births. It requires a little intelligence. Take this Krishna consciousness seriously. Your problems are solved. Now, if you don't believe in it, then come to argument, come to philosophy, come to reason. Go on arguing. There are volumes of books. You can be convinced. You can learn it. Every answer is there in the Bhagavad Gita. You can try to understand it with your reason, with your arguments. It is open. And so we can see there, Srila Prabhupada again is saying that you can have so-called liberation or enlightenment in a second. We just have to surrender. So Prabhupada also said, and I always laugh when I hear this quote, I'm sure you all do too, someone accused him of brainwashing the devotees, and he said, yes, their brains are very dirty. And so we know that, but the process of Krishna consciousness cleans that out. So one of the best examples of this that I really like is the story of Haridas Thakur and the prostitute. Right? So how many of you know that story? Anybody? Yeah, I know you know that story. Okay. So Haridas Thakur, he was in the forest and he was chanting. He built himself like a little place to live there, and he had a little tulsi plant in front of his little shelter, and he was just in the forest chanting, and he was chanting 300,000 names of the Lord a day. So this is, some of us complain about having to chant 16 rounds, which is only like 1,728. So 300,000, I haven't done the math on that. I don't know how long.
192 rounds.
192 rounds. Okay, there you go. So anyway, so the ruler of the area at the time, his name was Ramachandra Khan. He was not, he didn't like the people were very respectful of Haridas Thakur, and they were worshiping him, and Ramachandra Khan did not like that. And so he wanted to try to make Haridas Thakur, bring him down a notch. And so he called a meeting of the young prostitutes in the area and explained what he wanted to do, and that he wanted to try to make this great sadhu fall down. And one of the girls, she said, okay, yes, I can do it. And she was very beautiful young girl. And she said, just give me 3 days. I can do it in 3 days. And so on the first day, she goes to see Haridas Thakur, and she pays obeisances to the tulsi plant up front. And then she says to him, oh, you're just so beautifully built. What woman could control her mind in your presence? I must unite with you. I must have you. If I don't, I shall die. Right? And he just said, oh, okay, well, I'm doing my chanting right now. As soon as I finish my chanting, I will surely unite with you. Please don't worry. Just sit down here and, just sit here and wait till I'm done chanting. Just listen to my chanting, and then we'll do it when I'm finished. And so she sits down, and she's hearing him chanting, and she's just sitting there and waiting and waiting. And finally, the sun comes up, and the night is over. So she just gets up and leaves, and she goes back to Ramachandra Khan and tells him what happened. And she said, but he said that as soon as he's done with his chanting, then we'll unite, we'll enjoy. So the next night, she goes to him, and Haridasa, of course, says, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I think I disappointed you yesterday. Please forgive me. Just sit down, and I promise you, as soon as I'm done with my chanting, then we'll enjoy together." And so she sits down, and she's listening to him chant, and she actually started chanting herself just a little bit. Every once in a while, she chants herself a little bit. And again, the whole night passed, and Haridasa Thakur told her, "Look, I made this vow to chant 10 million names this month. The month is almost finished. I'm almost finished chanting the 10 million names. Like I promise you, as soon as I'm done, we're going to get down to it. Don't worry, So she comes back the next night, or she goes and she tells Ramachandra Khan what happened, and then she goes back the next night. And Haridasa, of course, says, "I'll be finished by morning. I'll be finished. Please, we're going to do this." Only by this time, she had become so sufficiently purified by hearing his chanting, by listening, by doing that service of hearing Krishna's name, that she actually paid obeisances to him and asked him to be her spiritual master. And so he told her, "Okay, well, I want you to go and give all your possessions to the Brahmanas, and then come back." So she did that. She went and she gave everything she owned away to the Brahmanas. She actually shaved all her hair off, and came back. And she actually became a great, well-respected devotee after that. And so, and that was just from sitting and hearing the holy names chanted for 3 nights. 3 nights. So that's how powerful taking up this process of Krishna consciousness, which one of the most important parts of is hearing. So now I wanted to talk a little bit about what the purport was talking about at the end of the purport. So the end of the purport was talking about how the spiritual master takes on the karma of the disciple at initiation. So, I think so many people we see will take initiation a little bit lightly. I think maybe they don't quite understand just what a serious thing it is. Maybe they think I just want to be part of the group, or I want to have a cool spiritual name too, or maybe they're just not really sure what they want. But initiation should be taken really seriously, because the guru actually takes on the karma and can be put into tribulation because of that. And I know so many people, like I know a lot of women, they might be doing all sorts of nonsense, smoking cigarettes or drinking alcohol or something like that. But then they get pregnant and they stop and they say, well, it's because it's not just me anymore. So now I have somebody else to worry about now. It's affecting someone else. I wasn't hurting anybody but myself before, but now there's another life here, and I need to, I can't hurt that other person because they didn't agree to do that. And so we should remember that too when we get initiated, that now if we are doing nonsense, that affects our guru. So I have a couple little quotes from here about that. All right, so this is from the Bhagavatam, the 6th canto. So Sri Vishwarup said, "O demigods, Although the acceptance of priesthood is decried as causing the loss of previously acquired Brahminical power, how can someone like me refuse to accept your personal request? You are all exalted commanders of the entire universe. I am your disciple and must take many lessons from you. Therefore, I cannot refuse you. I must agree for my own benefit. And the purport of that verse is, a Brahmana becomes the priest of the populace for the sake of their elevation. One who accepts the post of spiritual master neutralizes the sinful reactions of the Yagyamana to one on whose behalf he performs yajna. Thus, the results of the pious acts previously performed by the priest or spiritual master are diminished. So that's pretty shocking, right? So if the spiritual master not only takes on the karma, but their previous pious acts, their own karma from that is diminished. So it's a really big deal. So here's another one. So this is from a conversation between Srila Prabhupada and Shamasundar. So Shamasundar says, one time you said that sometimes you feel sickness or pain due to the sinful activities of your devotees. Can sometimes disease be due to that, caused by that? Srila Prabhupada said, you see, Krishna says, Aha tvam sarva papabhyo moksha sishyami masuchaha. I will deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. So Krishna is so powerful that he can immediately take up all the sins of others and immediately make them right. But when a living entity plays the part on behalf of Krishna, he also takes responsibility for the sinful activities of his devotees. Therefore, to become a guru is not an easy task, you see. He has to take all the poisons and absorb them. So sometimes, because he is not Krishna, sometimes there is some trouble. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has forbidden, don't make so many shishyas, many disciples. But for preaching work, we have to accept many disciples for expanding preaching, even if we suffer. That's a fact. The spiritual master has to take the responsibility for all the sinful activities of his disciples. Therefore, to make many disciples is a risky job unless one is able to assimilate all the sins. He takes responsibility for all the fallen souls. That idea is also in the Bible. Jesus Christ took all the sinful reaction of the people and sacrificed his life. That is the responsibility of a spiritual master. Because Krishna is Krishna, he is apavidha. He cannot be attacked by sinful reactions. But a living entity is sometimes subjected to their influence because he's so small. Big fire, small fire. If you put something big in a small fire, the fire itself may be extinguished. But in a big fire, whatever you put in it is all right. The big fire can consume anything. So I've heard people speaking online about, some of there's some spiritual masters in our line that are clearly suffering physically so much, and you can see it. And I've seen people that don't understand this online kind of mocking and saying, oh, well, what kind of spiritual master, would be suffering so much? And that's because they don't understand that the spiritual master, when they take on so many disciples, and if those disciples are not able or willing to follow the instructions of their spiritual master, then the spiritual master will suffer for that. So let's see. There's one more I wanted to see. Two more. Okay, so this is a talk between Giriraj and Srila Prabhupada. Giriraj, I don't think he was Swami yet. So Giriraj says, yesterday, you said the spiritual master may have to suffer due to the sinful activities of his disciples. What did you mean by sinful activities? Srila Prabhupada said, sinful activities means that you promised, I shall follow the regulative principles. If you do not follow, that is sinful. That is the promise. Very simple. You break the promise and do nasty things. Therefore, you are sinful. Is it not? Giriraj says, yes, but there are some things that we're instructed to do. Giriraj says, there are other things which we're instructed to do, which even though we try to do, we cannot do perfectly yet. Srila Prabhupada says, how is that? You try to do and cannot do? How is that? Giriraj says, like chanting attentively. Sometimes we try to, but Srila Prabhupada says, well, that is not a fault. Suppose you are trying to do something. Due to your inexperience, if you sometimes fail, that is not a fault. You are trying. There is a verse in the Bhagavatam that if a devotee is trying his best, but due to his incapability, he sometimes fails, Krishna excuses him. And in the Bhagavad Gita, it is also said, Api chet sudara charo bhajate mam ananya. Sometimes not willingly, but due to past bad habits. Habit is second nature. One does something nonsensical, but that does not mean he is faulty. But he must represent for that I have done this, and he should try to avoid it as far as possible. But habit is second nature. Sometimes, in spite of your trying hard, Maya is so strong that it pushes with pitfalls. That can be excused. Krishna excuses. But those who are doing something willingly are not excused. On the strength that I am a devotee, if I think because I am chanting, I may therefore commit all this nonsense and it will be nullified, that is the greatest offense. So I think that's a really important part to know, that Krishna, he does understand that we have so many lifetimes of these terrible habits. And so sometimes we're not able to meet the standard. And Krishna can excuse us so long as we're trying our best. So that's really important to know. All right, so I want to open it up. I had some more, but I think we're running out of time. So I want to open it up and see if anybody has any examples of seeing the rapid change, or it can be an example from the Bhagavatam, like the Jagai and Madai is a really great example of how they were able to go from a very sinful life to then pretty much in an instant being great devotees, So if anyone has any examples or questions or comments, yes, Kirtan.
Yeah, I just want to say, nice class. Thank you. There's an important point that you mentioned that, like Krishna's not like Krishna understands, that's a big, huge thing to understand, is that Krishna is not, it's not like, oh, well, you did all this service, but you missed Ekadasi, and therefore, Krishna understands. So he cares about us, and he understands what we're going through better than we understand what we're going through. So, when we think about Krishna that way, when you come to having a relationship with Krishna, your whole Krishna consciousness becomes a lot easier, because you're a lot easier on yourself, and you also understand Krishna's love a lot more. And so in that way, it becomes a lot easier to overcome anything, because Krishna's not, Krishna doesn't become, if we're struggling with something, Krishna doesn't, hold it so hard against us like we're rotten people. Krishna wants to help us, and Krishna understands that we're going through it, and if we're sincere and we continuously practice. Prabhupada mentioned that verse indirectly, Tvaktva Dharmam Charanam Bhusham Harir, that having taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, one should not become depressed, even if one makes some mistakes at the early stages. And so that's a nice point. And then also just an example of once when we were in Kalyani in India, in India, everybody wants to touch a sadhu's feet. Mm-hmm. So Gurudev we were trying to fight them off, but it was ultimately we were overwhelmed by the Bengali Matajis who forcibly wanted to touch Gurudev's feet by the hundreds. And so the next day, Gurudev came down with this insane rash, like all over his body. And it was like some rash that we'd never even seen anything like it. And then he was extremely ill, and he was having horrible nightmares about like hell. He said it was like, they were like hellish nightmares. And we had to you get this special ointment and use it. And it was pretty heavy. And also some of us also, because both me and Balaram were wearing saffron, people were also trying to touch our feet, but not at the same degree that we were like the runoff from that. But we also got kind of sick afterward. But mostly it was they were touching our feet because they couldn't touch Gurudev's feet because we were trying to fight them off. But anyways. So
this is one interesting quote here. It says, because of sinful activities at night, we have bad dreams. We were very troublesome indeed. Maharaj Yudhisthira was obliged to see hell because of a slight deviation from devotional service to the Lord. Therefore, bad dreams occur because of sinful activities. devotee sometimes accepts a sinful person as his disciple, and to counteract the sinful reactions he accepts from the disciple, he has to see a bad dream. Nonetheless, the spiritual master is so kind that in spite of having bad dreams due to the sinful disciple, he accepts this troublesome business for the deliverance of the victims of Kali Yuga.
Yeah, I remember that verse when I was saying that, because the bad dreams. That means I'm probably having a lot of sinful activity because I have a lot of crazy, horrible dreams. So.
That made me think of that dream you had the other night.
Yeah.
Okay, any other comments? Yeah, Ram. Prabhu.
I was just thinking of the innumerable lives, and then I had a little realization, and then I was thinking, did our souls manifest at the same time, even though we might have had more different lives because we might have come back as a shorter living being, but with the innumerable lives, and I started thinking, did our souls, our spirit souls, manifest at the same time? And then the other one was, when I was thinking about this and someone could add into this, I just remember reading something about Prabhupada after one of his illnesses, that he had someone came and did his astrology and said, if you make it through past this, you're going to live to be 99, which he didn't. Could that have been because of sinful activities from his devotees?
Well, the one thing I can say is that our souls are eternal. So, I mean, that would mean that our souls will always manifest. So, and then as far as the astrology with Srila Prabhupada, I have no idea. That is my opinion.
I don't know about that comment. If I never heard that, but Srila Prabhupada didn't leave because of sinful activity. Srila Prabhupada is Shuddha Bhakta and is only under the internal potency. So it's by Krishna's personal arrangement, that Krishna wanted Srila Prabhupada to come back. And so Prabhupada actually stayed in his body a lot longer than he should have in terms of his own illness. And so it was actually kind of miraculous that he was there. But Srila Prabhupada, or a devotee on that level, they don't actually leave or appear or leave. It's just the pastime that's happening. Just like Krishna is born, but Krishna is not born, or Krishna appears to leave the body, but Krishna doesn't leave his body. So in the same way, Srila Prabhupada, is beyond astrology. He's beyond all of that. So astrologer said Srila Prabhupada was, one astrologer said Srila Prabhupada, is a Shakti Vaishya avatar, or a Nitya Mukta, liberated soul. But even then, he's only acting according to, he can act against or through, because he's beyond astrology.
Okay. Right? Any more? Yeah, Jamuna.
You said we could give examples of a rapid change, right?
Sure.
Well, for me, would be you. Because when you first came here, within like a year or two, you started wearing all white, leading kirtans, giving class, doing deity worship. I haven't done even a fraction of that in like a decade.
I was also going to say that.
I had a feeling someone was going to say that, actually. All right, shall we end here? Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.
Oh, we could have told the story of Pink Pan.
Oh, I'll turn it off. I know.